Hey, so I don't know how many of you are aware of what's happening in South America, particularly with the U.S.'s ambition to crush uh, uh, the state of Venezuela and other uh, leftist social nations remaining in South America. Um, Now, Venezuela. Another reason I mentioned Venezuela is because Venezuela has made ties with China, Iran, and Russia. Now, this is because the U.S. has been um, doing its old games of regime change. Uh, their regime change attempts so far have not gone the way they wanted, so they're going to start. By getting Bolsonaro into office. So they basically helped to put Lula into jail. The U.S. I'm talking about. They basically helped to get Bolsonaro elected, and and I'm sure everybody's heard about Russia sending uh, nuclear capable bombers to Venezuela. Um, what you probably haven't heard about is how Nicolas Maduro is giving away weapons to every Venezuelan citizen who's willing to pick up a gun and take some training. What you probably haven't heard about are the Western fleets hiding among the commercial and fishing vessels that have been loitering around in that area. Uh, and anyways, just recently, Bolsonaro has, with the meeting with Pompeo, has talked about allowing a U.S. military base down there. So between that and there are and there's also stories about China sending ships into that region, as well as China's investment into Venezuela, economic and infrastructure and other investments, um, including including was it a dam? I don't know. I forget if it was a dam or some other something else like that. Well, anyways, you have all this going on, and the fact that there was the attempt on Maduro's life with what is it with a drone, and so you put all that together, and the fact that Trump's threatening to send down troops to Venezuela, as well as the media push that's been happening for so long, which still pops its ugly little head every once in a while. It's uh, it's it's a on a media platform on a media basis. It's basically everything that they did to get us into war with Iraq. So you put all that together, and this and the very and Bolsonaro offering military to allow the U.S. military to have bases in Brazil, and so you have a war and not a war, an invasion of Venezuela and other left-leaning governments down there. Now, uh, one other thing that I should make known is that there are some very reputable people who do an analysis and so on and so forth, military, social, and economic, and all that other stuff, and political, and as well as their they do investigations, and it's ironic because about God, what is it about? I think it's about. I moved down to Pennsylvania in 2010. I started I started using YouTube, which I hadn't used before because of the propaganda against YouTube that the media was pushing. But I finally broke and decided to give YouTube a try. Anyways, I forget, I forget when, but it was sometime after I moved down here, uh, and I was having trouble with Verizon and Comcast and Dish and all those. You know how the monopolies that screw you over. They play with your channels. They play with your billing and all that other stuff, and all that other happy horse shit. And that's what drove me to I got rid of cable and the internet and the internet uh, so. Oh, it would be about the time. So it would be about the time that I first went to Metro to, and I tried that, and I had Metro for what was it? I think about 3 years before I finally. No, it was about a. No, I'm sorry. It was less than a year after I started using Metro, and then it was several years later when T-Mobile bought out Metro, and I ended up switching over to T-Mobile, and obviously I got better ability to watch streaming video and other stuff. So, uh, anyways, I had come across a couple of videos on the analysis of what's going on and what they thought was taking place and what they believed would happen. And so I had paid attention to that, and then I also paid attention to as the years went by, kept myself updated on this, and it looks like their analysis was correct because one of the others is a tracks history and historical events, and he always and this particular person, I forget who it was, but uh, judging by uh, judging by what he knew and everything else and what he had researched and studied, he was saying that it was more than likely going to be another World War, the Third World War, and this one would basically be the mother of all world wars. And so one of the things that he had mentioned, it was really prescient because he had mentioned Venezuela and Brazil, and it's actually kind of scary how right he was because it's playing out almost exactly as he says. And they were the key players. It was Venezuela, Brazil, the U.S., China, and Russia. And I don't remember if he had mentioned Iran, but he had definitely mentioned China and Russia. And uh, so we got China, Russia, Iran, the U.S., Venezuela, and Brazil. And so he had proposed that this would start the Third World War, and unlike the previous World War, the U.S. would not, the U.S. mainland would not come away unscathed, and that there would be that it would eventually boil up from the south and into central, and then into the U.S. and then Western Europe, and so it would just boil into a massive world war. And unfortunately, Africa will be pulled in because they say colonialism stopped, but that's really not the case, because there's just too much colonial influence still in Africa, and many other islands and territories. So it looks like World War III is gonna come. So it's either we get wiped out from World War III, climate catastrophe, or by the fascist right wing takeover and oppression and suppression. I think it's all going to culminate together, and so there's some really dark days ahead of us, and I think many of us wish that we were dead. All right.